Welcome back to Computer Organization course. Today in this video we study about instructions and instruction sequencing. That means here we study how a program written by us stored in memory and how exactly it gets executed. In the sense, the order of execution, or it is called sequence. These listed topics are included in today's video. First we study about various notations about register data transfer between the registers and different notations we use in assembly language, so that we can understand very easily whenever we give example of data transfer between registers or assembly language instructions. Also we study different type of instructions that are there in various processors, and finally we conclude the video by explaining how the program we write gets stored in the memory and what is the order of execution, nothing but sequences. Here there are two things. One is straight line sequences. With that we also study branching. These are the some questions you must be able to answer before watching this video. These are some basic prerequisite knowledge so that you can understand how instruction gets stored in the memory and how the program executes. You can find answer to these questions in chapter 1. But here I'll explain briefly all these questions so that we can continue with our video. So what are instructions? We know that processor can perform various operations. For example, processor can add two numbers. Processor can multiply two numbers. Processor is capable to transfer data from one register to another register. All these are operations, and every single operation is called one instruction. For example, addition is an instruction, multiplication is an instruction, move is an instruction which transfers data from one register to another register. According to the processor, the every single operation it can perform is called instruction. But in a programmer's perspective, an instruction is nothing but an order given by a programmer to the computer. Programmer informs the processor what exactly it has to do, which operation it has to perform. For example, here below on the left side I have written a small program in an assembly language. On the right side there is the same program. It is nothing but a statement in higher level language like C. Ultimately I have to add two numbers, divide it by 2 and get the average. So in higher level language we write a statement equal to variable name equal to a plus b divided by 2. We call it a statement but not instruction, because that single statement has multiple instructions. Now what are the instructions? On the left side I have written assembly language where there are individual instructions I have written in order to find the average of two numbers. So look at the assembly language instructions. Initially I have to add two numbers, then that result I have to divide it by 2. I'll get the actual result. Then I move that result to variable avg. So these are called instructions, and assembly language supports these instructions. Most of the higher level language supports statements where you can combine multiple instructions. Just now I told that every processor is capable of performing various operations. So operations are nothing but instructions. Here there are 4 categories of instructions that a particular processor must support. So every processor in the market right now should support all these 4 type of instructions. So these essential 4 types of instructions are nothing but one is data transfer instructions. Every processor should have instructions to transfer data between the registers or between memory and register. Second category of instructions are arithmetical and logical operations. So every processor should have instructions or must be able to make operations which are arithmetic like add, multiply, divide and subtract. Similarly, processor must be able to perform logical operations like OR, AND, NOT. Third category of instructions listed here is program sequencing and control instructions. Like in higher level language we call it as for loop, if loop, while loop or if else, like branching. Similarly, every processor must have branching instructions. It's called sequence and control operations. And the last one is IO transfer. computer has to interact with outside environment. So processor must be able to communicate with the input output devices. For that reason, processor should have operations or instructions which allows processor to communicate with the IO devices. So these are the four categories of instruction every processor must support. Before studying instructions of assembly language, there are some notations you must understand. For example, here they have given some register transfer notations. These are regarding registers. First one is, he says any address in the memory, address which is referring to a memory, we can use the address itself or we can name the address and use that particular name. For example, variables. See here LOC is nothing but name of a memory location. So indirectly LOC is nothing but address of the memory location. If it is very difficult to remember address of every memory location we use in the program. Instead of that, we can use name for addresses. It is nothing but in higher level language we call it as variables. Also we have name for registers also. Every register has a name. Most general purpose register we refer in this textbook as R suffixed by some number, R0 to R15, for example 16 different registers. Similarly, if we mention an address within a square bracket, so always think we are talking about the data present in that address. Suppose here we have written LOC inside a square bracket. Location LOC is nothing but address. When I write it in square bracket, I am not referring to the address. Instead, I am referring to the data present in that address. R1 is a register. When I write it in square bracket, I meant to refer the data present in that register. This is the most important notation you must remember throughout this course. Nothing but the direction of data transfer. Whenever I write, for example, I will go to the second example, add R1, R2, R3. Here I am trying to add R1 and R2 and storing the result in R3. That means I am adding first two operands and storing the result in last operand. So data is moving from left to right. Similarly here also, data from a memory location I am transferring it to R1. I am not transferring R1 value to a memory location. That is what direction of data transfer here. Here also see I am adding first two operands and transferring it, data is transferred to the last operand from left to right. Here I am not adding R2 and R3 and storing it in R1. No. So why these notations are very important? Because various processor manufactured by different companies, they use different type of notations. Here in this example, the initial operands are source operands and the last operands are destination operands. For example, here in first instruction, this operand is source data. I am transferring it to the destination R1. Here I am adding first two operands. These are the source and finally storing result in R3. This is the destination. In some other processor, for the same instruction we have written here, that processor adds last two operand and stores the result in R1. It depends on the processor and their manufacturers. So there is no a particular standard throughout the world. So why should we know these notations? So whenever we give example in this course, you should always know that for us initial operands are source and we are transferring data to destination. Those are operands at the end. So data transfer is from left to right. There are different types of instructions. There are various instruction formats. Here we have mentioned few. Some processors supports 3 address instruction format. These formats are categorized based on how many operands an instruction can support. 3 operands or 3 address instruction where I can mention 3 different operands, 3 different source of data. See here I am adding R1 and R2 and storing it in R3. Here maximum I can refer 3 operands. One more format is 2 address instructions where I can refer only 2 operands for every instruction. Now how exactly this addition works now? In such cases R1 and R2 are added and stored in R2 itself. So last operand is always destination. So we are adding R1 and R2, storing the result in R2 itself. We can also have one address instruction or instruction which supports only one operand. Here, if we need more than one operands and instruction supports only one operand, for example add needs at least two operands, right? To add two numbers, we need at least two sources or two different data. Here in second example, we can adjust that second operand itself as the destination. But when only one operand is there, in such cases, most of the time, if an instruction requires more than one operand, but instruction supports only one operand, then it will have some default registers. What are the default registers? Default register are nothing but it is taught to the processor that whenever I pass a value to add instruction which takes only one operand, it has to take one more data from some particular register like R1. Whenever processor finds such instruction add and some number, so that number processor considers as a one operand, and one operand by default it refers from some particular registers. So in such cases you should have one more data placed in that particular default register before executing the instruction. The default register for various operation or instructions may vary. What is a register? Register is a memory. Just like any other memory, a register stores data just like any other memory. But what is the difference between register and a regular memory? Every register is an individual memory and it do not have address because every register is an individual and they are accessed using name of the register. Registers are very near to the processor. That means when compared to the main memory or any other type of memory, registers are very faster because they are individual and most importantly they are very small. Like your RAM 2GB, 4GB, 6GB or 8GB, registers have a size maximum of 64 bit. Every register will have a maximum size of 64 bit based on the processor, or 32 bit or 16 bit. Even 16 bit registers also available. It is accessed using name. Since the register memory is very small, it is very faster. That is why we always try to use more registers in the program than directly contacting the memory, because accessing memory consumes more time when compared to accessing registers. Before studying instruction execution and its sequencing, either straight line or branching, we should know the answers to following questions. I'll explain everything one by one. So what is the size of the instruction? We know the instruction, it's nothing but a single operation. It is a way of informing processor to execute a particular operation, single operation by the programmer in program. Now, what is the size of the instruction? Because every program gets stored in the memory. That means every instruction in that program gets stored in the memory. So instruction size is nothing but when we convert that particular instruction into binary, that size, data size is called instruction size. We'll have 16-bit instructions or 32-bit instructions or sometimes 64-bit instructions. Now how to find the instruction size? We have to encode it. What is encoding? Encoding is nothing but when we write an instruction in assembly language, we make use of English actually. For example, add R0, R1. R0, R1, add ADD, add that word. Everything is English. But we have to store it in binary format. Now we know that how to store string in a binary format by assigning ASCII to every character. Similarly here, if we try to store every character of an instruction in the memory, then the whole instruction meaning cannot be stored or preserved. So add becomes ADD. There will be no meaning. So what is the encoding of an instruction? When the instruction is written in English, we convert that instruction into a binary pattern or binary data which actually has information about the instruction. So when instruction is converted into binary, only that instruction is not converted. Exactly what operation processor has to do, what are the different operands, where data has to be stored back once the result is obtained, everything is encoded. Everything is converted into binary, not just characters. So converting an instruction into binary data by preserving its meaning, nothing but what operation that instruction is requesting, what are the operands, and where exactly data has to be stored. All this information also converted into binary. So that binary data will have every detail of that instruction. It is called encoding. What is decoding? Binary data in memory for an instruction when processor access it and try to understand that instruction. What operation processor has to do, on which data it has to do, where it has to store the result. So processor when understands meaning of the instruction by looking its binary data from the memory, that is called decoding. What is the use of PC register? This is we have studied in first chapter itself. Program counter register holds address of every instruction that has to be executed. Next, immediate next, ಯಾವ instruction execute ಆಗಬೇಕು, its address will be there in the program counter register. Why do we need? Because whenever an instruction is completed after execution, execution of an instruction is completed, processor has to fetch next instruction. Somebody has to decide what is the next instruction. So program counter always have address of the next instruction. Let us start from straight line sequencing. Here I have a small program for adding two numbers. Here see every instruction of that program. This is a complete program in assembly language to add two numbers. Now some assumptions we have done. Here every address is incremental. That means here every cell I have shown is 1 byte, and you can say that every instruction has occupied 1 byte of data. So let me very clear. Here I have assumed that every instruction is 1 byte here. Every instruction is 1 byte. And how exactly instructions get stored? In the same order as I have written in the program. That's very important. Now what happens is initially program counter points to this address 1234H. Through MAR and MDR register. This is we have studied in first chapter. What is how MAR, MDR, program counter, instruction register and general purpose registers play their role in execution of a program. Initially PC points to first address 1234H. Your processor fetch this instruction using that PC value 1234 and executes it. But once processor fetch this instruction, processor increments PC value and make PC to point to the next instruction. Then it executes this instruction which is copied in IR, instruction register of the processor. So what is the order? Very simple. PC will be pointing to the instruction that has to be executed next. Processor fetch that instruction using PC value and stores that instruction in instruction register, then increments PC to the next instruction, and processor decodes instruction in instruction register, understands what operation it has to do, on which data it has to do, where it has to store result. Then processor executes that instruction, means performs that particular operation, and fetch one more instruction. How? Already PC is updated to the next instruction. So again using PC and content, processor can find out which is the next instruction. Similarly, after fetching every instruction, PC is incremented, then that particular previously fetched instruction is executed, then processor fetch a new instruction. So what is straight line sequencing? See, we are going simply down from the first instruction. We keep executing every instruction as written in the program. So straight line sequencing. Every instruction is executed one by one according to their addresses. It's called straight line sequencing. Here I have same straight line sequencing example, but here I have considered every instruction is 4 byte in length. When I encode an instruction into binary, it takes 4 bytes of length, not 1 byte. So that's why you can see every instruction address is actually incremented by 4 when compared to its previous instruction. So if the first instruction is 1234H at 1234H address, next instruction is at 1238H. That means 1234, 1235, 1236 and 1237. All these 4 bytes are consumed by this instruction because that instruction is 4 byte. Now how exactly it gets executed? See, initially PC will be pointing to this instruction. Here is our processor and there will be a register called IR which stores the instruction. So initially processor fetch data from the address located by program counter. So program counter is pointing to, so this instruction is placed in the IR and program counter is incremented by 4 because this instruction is 4 byte. Initially program counter was in previous example incremented by 1 because those instructions were 1 byte. Now how processor comes to know that it has to increment program counter by 4 so that it points to the next instruction? That means when instruction is placed in the IR, processor decodes it. While encoding, we also encode the size of the instruction. So when instruction is decoded, processor immediately comes to know that what is the size of that instruction. So based on that, we increment the PC value. If instruction size is 1 byte, I have to increment PC by 1 so that I will get next instruction. If instruction size is 4 byte, processor increments PC by 4 so that it gets address of the next instruction. So same example, here also straight line execution, but in number of times PC is incremented is different. That is nothing but instruction size is different. But we execute every instruction one by one in the given order as in the program. Every next instruction gets executed. It's called straight line sequencing. This is the example given by the prescribed textbook. Here the same explanation is given, but instead of the direct addresses, he has taken address as I and every instruction is 4 byte. So if this address is I, then the address of next instruction is I plus 4 because that instruction consumes 4 bytes of data. If it is I, then first byte is I, then I plus 1, then I plus 2 and last byte is I plus 3. So next instruction starts stored in I plus 4. Okay, the same explanation is done. He has written some other program, so the explanation is same. What is a different way of executing a program other than straight line sequences? Is nothing but branching. So here branching is in higher level language. For understanding purpose, I can give example of if else loop. Based on the condition satisfaction, either if contents are executed or else part is executed. Means some parts are skipped. One more example is for loop, where some part of the program is repeatedly executed, not skipped, repeatedly executed. So these are called branching, where every instruction is not executed one by one. Either we skip some instruction and go to forward, or we go back and execute some instruction again and again, like loops. So this is called branching. Here to explain the branching, he has taken one example of adding n numbers. Means using loop. Why we have to use a loop for adding n numbers? Because adding every number is same instruction, right? Add instruction. So instead of to add 10 numbers, instead of writing add instruction 10 times, I can write add instruction one time and keep repeating that add instruction 10 times. This is a simple logic we have already studied in lower semesters. So here you can see he has declared a sum variable where you have to add all 10 numbers or n numbers, n numbers. You have to add all n numbers and finally store the result in sum. Similarly, the numbers are here in different addresses here from num1 to num(n). This n nothing but total number of numbers. What is the value of n? That is, if there are 10 numbers, we will have value as 10. All n numbers are stored in here in different memory locations, but they are continuous. Now how exactly branch works? We will initially see the perspective of a program. Then we will see how exactly it works in processor. So initially, see, look at the program he has written. He has stored n value in R1. Here n value in R1. That means R1 will have total number of numbers present to add. Then he will make R0 as 0. The trick is very simple. You fetch one number, add it to the 0, that is something R0. I have cleared everything in R0, so R0 value is 0. So you take one number and add it to the R0. Then go to next number, again add it to the R0. So every time you add and you take a new number and add it to the previous value of R0. So that's how we can find out sum of n numbers. How many times this operation has to be done? I have to do this operation n times because there are n numbers. So that's what we are doing here. We are moving n value to R1 to keep a count on how many times we have repeated add instruction. Then R0 stores the result after every add. So here is the actual code. So determine the address of next number and add it to the R0. So every time you determine address of next number. ಈಗ n1 add ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ num1 add ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ next you have to determine address of next number. That is nothing but increment the address of the num1. You will go to num2, then num3. And here you can see every time a number is added, we decrement R1. What is R1? Total number of numbers present that has to be added. So every time we add a number, we decrement R1 to indicate that one number is reduced. Its result, we have added it to the R0. So what happens is when R1 becomes 0 here, when R1 becomes 0, that means we have added all n numbers. So we have to stop repeating this particular part of the program. That is finding the next number address, adding it to the R0. That part we have to stop repeating if R1 is 0. So that's why there is a conditions here. We branch means we are informing processor to go somewhere. Where? To the loop. What is loop? Loop is here, see. The loop is called label. You can label any instruction. So you can give name to any instruction and ask processor to go back or go forward to that particular location. Okay, here I have given loop to this particular instruction, which is nothing but determine the address of next number. So every time I add, if R1 is not 0, that means there are further numbers left to add. So if that is not 0, R1 is not 0, after decrementing, I'll go back to the loop, find address of next number and add it. But when R1 is 0, that means we have added all n numbers. So we don't go to the loop. If branch greater than 0, that means after decrementing, if R1 value is still greater than 0, we go back and add new remaining number. Otherwise we will fail that if this branch instruction fails. When this branch instruction fails, definitely next instruction gets executed. It means going back is failed. So we'll go forward. So this is about the program. And according to memory perspective, how might it work? It's very simple, right? So initially PC will be pointing to this. Processor fetch this instruction. Understand that this is a particular instruction. Size of this instruction is some bytes. Based on that, it will increment PC. Then it executes this instruction and fetch again one more instruction using PC value. Understand that instruction after encoding and again increment the PC. So like this, when decrement is being executed, so PC will point to the address of the next instruction. Next instruction is fetched and stored in instruction register of the processor after encoding. But once the processor understands that this is an instruction of branch, means it has to go back, that time this PC value is updated to this. That means PC value is updated to this. Why? Because branch loop means we have to execute this instruction again. So processor as usual fetch the instruction located by PC, executes it and updates PC value, increments PC value. So this keep happening. Every time PC points here, and based on the branch execution, the PC will be updated back to the instruction. So once this branch fails, that means R1 is greater than 0, idre matra now branch agodu. When R1 becomes 0, this branch fails. That means now PC is not updated here. Instead PC will be here only. Whenever PC is fetching a particular instruction, based on that instruction size, PC value gets updated to the next instruction. When branch is there, based on the loop, that means based on where we have given this label, where you have to jump back, based on this label, the PC value will be updated. So this is all about branching. We'll study this in detail when stacks are introduced, or in 4th semester where there is again an assembly language concept where we study every instruction in depth. So this was about instructions, how they get stored in the memory and what are the way of executing it, order of execution. So one by one, every instruction one by one, or we may go back or skip some instructions Okay, and then execute other instructions. This is called branching. So a straight line sequence, branching sequence, and about instructions. Thank you.